Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me yet, my name is Sophie and I love bullet journaling and creating bullet journal setups. Today I'm going to set up my bullet journal for the upcoming month, and now you can see me flipping through my previous setup from April. If you're curious how I created that setup, make sure to check out my video. It's tagged down below in the description. And if you're curious about my other bullet journal setups, make sure to also follow me on Instagram, TikTok and Pinterest. Alright, let's get started. For the upcoming month, I'm going to create a sea theme with sea creatures. And I'm starting off on my cover page with a painting of some clownfish in their anemones. I don't know how to pronounce the word correctly, but you get it, I hope so. First I glued down some watercolor paper with some tape, so I have a flat surface to work on. And then I'm going to start with the first base layer, just filling in the large shapes of the painting, like the fish themselves and the greater shape of the anemones. I always take the time to brainstorm a bit before I develop a new theme for my bullet journal, and I search a lot of pictures on Pinterest and I create boards, etc. And when I was doing that for May, I realized I had never done a sea creature theme before, so I realized it really was time to try that. So I gathered some reference pictures from clownfish, jellyfish, sea stars and other creatures, and then I made a Pinterest folder about it, and that's where I based this bullet journal theme on. As you can see, I'm using watercolors. I really like using them for my bullet journal. Currently I'm using an Archer and Olive notebook. The paper is not very watercolor friendly, so I try to use my just regular watercolor paper and stick that in my journal. And even though my journal gets a bit bulky, I don't mind that, and I really like the result of the paintings in my setup. After painting the base layer for this illustration, I'm slowly filling in the details. For example, creating some more detailed shapes in the anemones and in the fish. For illustrations like this with underwater creatures, I really like to use some contrasting colors. For example, the orange clownfish with the blue anemone where they're swimming in. And I really try to take my time when building up illustrations like these, so trying not to be too quick about it and just using very sheer layers of watercolor paint. When I was painting the anemones, I realized, yeah, they really needed a bit more color in them, so I added some green to the blue anemone and some purple to the pink one. And it really gives them a bit more body and distinction from their further context, like the fish. And after I filled on all the layers and the details, I finally took a black pen for the details of the clownfish, and also a white pen for some last details on the anemones. And now it's time to stick the illustration into my journal, and I'm also adding the title of the month, May, which is a very short one. And I use an open font, which is inspired by Tina from Tina's Diary. I will also tag their social media down below. On the left side of the cover spread, I'm creating a monthly calendar. For this month I decided to make my setup a bit smaller, a bit more minimal, and I went for a one-page calendar. And I'm curious how I liked it, how I will like it. I don't use them very often, but I really wanted to give myself a little break from all the very detailed bullet journal spreads, and went for a more minimal setup this month. Now it's time to move on to my content calendar and my habit tracker. I'm also putting these on one spread, and before I go to draw all the tables and the calendars, I first start with a small illustration. I'm going to paint a couple of sea stars and sea urchins, and I just glued again some watercolor paper down on my desk. And I'm going to slowly paint them in. I'm also starting with a sheer base layer and slowly filling in some details. I just searched some reference pictures of sea stars, and I just loosely paint them. And my goal is not to make them too realistic, but a little bit illustrative, if that's the word, and in my own style. When these small paintings are finished, I glued them down in my journal, and then I grabbed a Fineliner and I draw a small content calendar. I use this for my social media content, for Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and some Pinterest. And if you're not active on Instagram or on social media at all with your bullet journal, you maybe do not need this spread, but it's very easy to change into, for example, a deadline tracker for your studies or a work tracker or whatever. And on the opposite of the page, I'm creating a small task table. I wanted to try that out for this month. I saw Julianne Doodles use it, and I'm really curious how I will like it. I will also tag down her Instagram and social media down below. And on the bottom right side of the page, I'm creating a small habit tracker. I usually just track like 4 habits, not too much, not too exciting, but I do like to include them in my setup. Alright, it's already time for the last spread of this setup. It's the first weekly spread, and I found a beautiful colored jellyfish on Pinterest, and I decided to go ahead and paint it for this weekly spread. I use several colors of orange for this, and I also use a bit more of a wet on wet technique just to achieve that very elegant, colorful look of the jellyfish. And I also add some purple details. And when I think the painting is finished, I just wait a bit for everything to dry, and then I grab my Fineliner to add some final small details to the jellyfish to make it stand out a bit more. The rest of my weekly spread is constructed of different boxes for each day, and also a small graphed paper box on the bottom right for some notes or maybe tasks I have to migrate to next week. Alright, we're already at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you like my bullet journal setup. Make sure to also follow me on Instagram, TikTok and Pinterest. I will put my social media down below. And I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!